Oh, I didn't see you there. What's this, you say? This is the latest in fashion, the wearable welder. Jealous? Today, let's take a look at this wearable welder. This is the Century brand Flux Core welder. It's from Home Depot. It'll run you $199 plus double taxation. Sales tax. And we'll look at its features, specs, then we'll do a few welds. All right, let's see if this man accessory is worth your money. All right, let's start off with a quick tour of the outside. Up here, you have your main controls. You got your voltage and your wire feed. Now, they are infinitely adjustable for fine tuning, which is nice. Let's take a look around back. Back here, you've got your power switch and a fan. It is fan cooled. Let's take a look inside. These are extra tips I keep in here. Inside here, you got your wire spool. It takes 1-pounders. You got your wire feed mechanism. And over here, you got a little cheat sheet to get you in the ballpark. Now, this thing supports both 0.030 and 0.035 wire. And to switch between them, all you do is change the tip to the correct tip. And you got to flip over this drive wheel. Show you how that's done. The tensioner here, to make the wire, if the wire is slipping, you can turn it in a little bit, make it a little tighter. Or if your motor's bogging, you can turn it out a little bit. Now, we're just gonna go ahead and flip it up, move our opposing wheel out of the way, and here's your drive wheel. In order to get that out, we're gonna turn this little thing, little cap. It's easier when there's no wire in there. Right here's your drive wheel. Just slide it right off the top. You can see here, it says 0.030 here. If we flip it over, you can see 0.035. You got your two corresponding grooves. So whatever wire you're going to use, go ahead and have that number facing upwards. Let's go ahead and put it back in there. Okay, the cables here, both the nipple clamp and the gun here are both 6 feet long, the cables are, and your power cable is 6.5 feet long. All right, let's take a look at a few of its positive features, and then we'll take a look at a few of its problems or cons. All right, first positive thing is, it's only 18 pounds plus the weight of the spool, so you're only lugging around 19 pounds. Super light in the way welders go. Next cool thing is, it's 110 volt powered. So it's gonna work at any job site, or if your garage only has 110 volts, good to go. It's flux core. So if you're outside and it's a little windy, or if the material you're welding has a little paint or a little rust or a little shmoo on it, it's not quite as sensitive to that as MIG would be. MIG isn't going to do as good in the wind or the dirty welds. Next thing is it's inverter powered. That's why it's so damn light. It is rated up to 1/4 inch steel. You turn this all the way up, you can weld up to 1/4 inch plate. And the best feature is the infinitely adjustable amperage to suit your personal nipple needs. All right, let's take a look at a few of its cons. But before we do that, why don't you weld down that subscribe button. If you're into tool reviews, or nipple play, or just the tool reviews. All right, let's talk about a few of its cons. The duty cycle at 80 amps is only 30%. So for every 3 minutes you weld straight, you're gonna have to let it cool down about 7 minutes. It is flux core, so that's a pro, but it's also a con, because it's going to take you to Slag town. You're going to have to beat that off and paint it. So the other thing is it only runs 1-pound spools, so it's going to cost a little bit more per weld than the 10-pounders. 10-pounders a little cheaper per weight. The next negative thing is you're going to need a 20-amp socket if you want the full range of nipple tickle power. Otherwise, with the 15-amp socket, you're going to have to dial down your voltage a little bit. For our welding test, we're going to weld 2 1/8 inch pieces together, and then we'll do 2 1/4 inch pieces, which is its maximum rated. Let's take a look here. That's 1/4 inch. It's about 1/8 inch. Test, we got 1/8 inch plates and 1/4 inch plates. Let's start with the 1/8 inch plates. All right, we got everything cranked up to max. Let's try the 1/4 inch plates. All right, here's that slag we were talking about. You're gonna get this anytime you use flux core. Let's go ahead and knock that off. All right, there's that one. Let's take a look at this one. Here's your here's your 1/4 inch plate. All right, let's take a look at penetration. Here's your 1/8 inch plate. Here's your 1/4 inch plate. Now for maximum strength, you'd obviously weld both sides. Let's throw them up in the clamp. Let's throw them up in the vise and see if we can break them with a hammer. Okay, first we'll do the 1/8 inch plate. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. You can see that the steel is bending before the weld. So we got good penetration, we got a nice strong weld. And if you welded both sides, that's the end of it. Let's try it on our 1/4 inch plate. Okay, here you see we were able to break the weld. Now that's two things. Is one, I did a crappy weld, and two, we didn't weld both sides. So let's go ahead and weld them back together and try again. I know you guys are jelly of my super sweet wooden welding bench. All right, let's knock the slag off of there. All right, you can see that's much better. Let's throw it up in the vise and see if it's any stronger. Okay, we've got our new weld chucked up in the vise. Let's try the same test. Now, it's the worst case scenario, you're bending towards the weld. All right, let's take a look at how that broke. You can see that the penetration just isn't very much. So I would say that you can weld 1/4 inch plate, but I would say that you need to weld both sides, and I'd say you need to have even more to weld than I did on that last test. I'd also say that a 1/4 inch plate's just on the realm of being just a little too thick for this welder. You're just not gonna quite get the penetration. You know, things like 1/8 inch, all day, every day. And we tested that in worst case scenario. We went against the weld trying to hammer it. If you were to weld both sides, this thing would be stronger than hell. So, the most important question is, what that low duty cycle is it enough to cook this hot dog? Let's check it out. All right, well, you can't cook a hot dog, but it does make a pretty decent little welder. I'll catch you guys next time.